Special showtime today. Jaire Alexander, he's finally cut. Could the Arizona Cardinals potentially pursue? I'm Johnny Venerable, joined by Donnie, Druin. PHNX Cardinals starts now. Hey, welcome in. Live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier #1 Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. I'm Johnny Venerable, joined on a football Monday, live at noon with my guy, Donnie Druin on Cardinals on SI. One of our favorite people in the market. Excited to bring him on. We know Bo's on paternity leave. Happy, healthy. Everybody's doing great with Bo and his family. But Donnie, you and I had to connect while Bo was out. How we living, my guy?
We had to, man. Every day is a football Monday on the PHNX show. I'm crazy hyped to be here, man. Shout out to Bo. Everything seems to be going great with the Brock family. But, I mean, that's not why people are here, man. They're here to listen to two mediocre opinions, and I couldn't be more pleased to be here.
How about our guy Shaft? Love Donnie's articles again. Yeah, check him out. Does great work for Sports Illustrated, covering the Cardinals. Also covers the Phoenix Suns. Just a staple in the written form of this market. Excited to pick his brain today on all things Arizona Cardinals. And again, special showtime today, back at 4:30 tomorrow. Be sure, do us a favor, drop a like, leave a comment, partake in the chat, and of course, subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. Fired up today. No shortage of topics today. Jam-packed. We put producer Noah to work this morning early and often. Kicking things off, Donnie Druin. Well, first of all, before we get into Jaire Alexander and Scary Terry and everything like that, your overall impressions, this offseason, because it's been a minute since you and I connected. We saw each other at the Combine. You get to chop it up with Bo consistently, but give me your overall analysis of the Cardinals offseason from start to finish.
Yeah, I think the disappointing end to 2024 maybe shed some light that, hey, there is maybe some hope in the desert despite, dwindling down second half of the season. I think that's very evident. A lot of people were calling for Monti Ossenfort to really spend big heading into free agency, and that's exactly what he did. He amplified a lot of the quote unquote weak points of the team. A lot of that obviously came on the defensive side of the ball. Knocked it out of the park with both free agency and the draft. I'll tell you, Johnny, it's just even being around the facility. This will be my 4th year covering the team full time, 5th year total being there. It's so obvious whenever teams and players say this in the offseason where, we're ready to compete. We're very excited for the playoffs. We think we can make a run. They believed that last year for sure, but Johnny, there's a feeling now in the building, in the locker room, amongst players, coaches, whatever it might be, that 2025 can be the year that the Arizona Cardinals finally reverse so much of the narrative around them and really make a push for not only that division crown in the NFC West that appears to be wide open for everybody, but to make that postseason push under Jonathan Gannon.
Yeah, I totally agree. We would do shows in January, and I think Bo is a little bit more level-headed, surprise, than I was.
Yeah.
And I said, you're going to have to do a lot to get people amped up for this year, given yet another collapse right down the stretch, because we've been teased. And it's not specific to any singular player or coach or administration. It's just this team, for whatever reason, historically has never finished well. And so we thought about it in January and we're sitting together and it's what could they even do? What would be a dream off season? And while they didn't hit every beat, I think some people would have loved to see them, add a premium slot receiver. They got damn near close. And I do feel like they checked the necessary boxes to level up the talent on this roster. And so now, you can sense the enthusiasm, I'm sure, every day with the coaching staff and the players, but with the fan base as well. Drop a like right now. We got almost 100 watching on YouTube alone. Big thanks to our many streaming partners. Could they add more talent. So, Donnie, we had kind of alluded to this early in free agency, right at the start, the Cardinals were going to kick around the idea of signing a veteran corner. And we had known kind of at that time that Sean Murphy-Bunting was going to be out. And so the Cardinals brought in Asante Samuel Jr. He had a shoulder problem. He's since, I think, had a surgery to correct that. Mike Garafolo came on our show, told us that. So it was like clear, like the Cardinals were sniffing around that position. Then they were gifted Will Johnson at pick 47, who's an unquestioned starter. Sean Murphy-Bunting subsequently put on the NFI list and probably likely done with the Cardinals indefinitely beyond this year. So we knew post June 1st, Donnie, that we were going to get a lot of action with teams that either were going to cut guys, they were going to trade them 30 cents on the dollar. Well, it comes down this morning. Let's see it, Noah. Jaire Alexander, the former first-round pick, who, by the way, went to JG's alma mater in Louisville, is being released, is going to be released. Something to the effect of like, it's going to hit the transaction waiver wire here in the next 24 hours. So there's still time. They give themselves an out, Donnie, if they wanted to trade him for like a ham sandwich. But here it is from Spot Track. The Packers are releasing cornerback Jaire Alexander, who had 2 years, $37 million remaining on his contract. The 28-year-old earned $72 million in 7 seasons with the Packers, leaving behind dead cap hits of $7.5 million and $9.5 million. So again, I'm not sure, depending on like how old he is, Donnie, you would know this better than I would. Like, could the Cardinals claim him? Probably not. I think he's a vested veteran. So like just a straight up signing in free agency, he's going to bring a lot of his money over. Does this move, ring the bell for you? Does this move the needle for an Arizona Cardinal team that I think is unequivocally better at outside corner with Will Johnson, but is still lacking that kind of late 20s veteran presence that they've lost with Sean Murphy-Bunting?
Yeah, and I think General Manager Monti Ossenfort will be the first person to tell you you can never have enough competition, never have enough talent. That's specifically true for 2 positions, edge rusher and cornerback. And obviously the loss of Sean Murphy-Bunting, a lot of people, and maybe rightfully so, are maybe hit or miss on the play. But Johnny, you look at the Cardinals cornerback room without Sean Murphy-Bunting there, like the guy who's going to be playing the most, Garrett Williams, the most experience they have is 3 years. Murphy-Bunting was a Super Bowl champion. He was entering his 7th year in the pros. Like he brought a lot of experience, maybe some knowledge to that cornerback room. Maybe more than anything, he was a veteran voice, and maybe you can replace that a little bit with a guy like Jaire Alexander. I mean, whenever he's healthy, and that's kind of the big calling card, is he's easily top 5 or top 10 cornerback in the NFL. The Packers run cover 3 almost more than any other coverage that they run, which is the same for the Cardinals. So schematically, the fit would be there. Jaire is also a guy who loves to get in people's faces and match up 1-to-1. And I don't think we necessarily have a proven commodity in Arizona who's like that just yet. Will Johnson, obviously, to be determined. Obviously, adding a guy like Jaire would be phenomenal for them. But like, do you think maybe that's more of like a luxury pick, because the Cardinals do seem very intent and they do seem to love their young group of corners?
They do. And again, I've been a huge advocate in playing those young corners. They've loaded up on veterans in the front 7, notable veterans like Dalvin Tomlinson, Josh Sweat, Calais Campbell. Like that will help that group. And I've also been of the opinion, like Starling Thomas has been in the league now 3 years, right? He's played a lot of football. Keitrell Clark, if he makes the roster, has been around for some time. But you talk about like, who are the 2 guys that are going to start outside corner right now? I think you and I would both say probably Max Melton and, of course, Will Johnson, the 47th overall pick. Like, do you really want to bring in a Jaire Alexander to block one of those players? Surface level, no. I don't think it would be a good idea. If you could bring him in with the understanding like, hey, you're going to be Sean Murphy-Bunting's replacement and you'll be a spot starter. Like, I think Jaire Alexander would probably tell you, like, no, I'm going to go get money and incentives somewhere else. He's only 28. I want to sign a 1-year deal and give myself an opportunity to cash in next offseason. Like, he's, to your point, he's still a good player when he's healthy. And I know that this probably ails the Packers to have to do this. It felt like this was a long time coming, though. He had issues with Matt LaFleur. They had traded jabs in the media in the past. So his coverage grade, though, still outstanding. PFF 78.3, an overall grade of 75, 2 picks last year, just 14 receptions allowed. big, lengthy corner. And again, went to JG's alma mater, probably saw him a time or two while he was at Louisville.
Sure.
To me, it just feels like circumstantial. We knew that they were going to add a corner, and it ended up being Will Johnson. And here's my argument consistently on Will Johnson is if his knee is an issue, which we don't know, it could last 10 plus years. But if it is an issue, like, why screw around and not play him early? If you feel like that knee could maybe have a timeline or a shelf life of like 5 to 7 years, and again, I'm not putting that on him, well, then get him out there, get him ready, and have him ready to go. I think one of the biggest, issues with the Keim regime is they would never fully embrace young players like Byron Murphy and Zach Allen, like, rarely play. They'd bring in these veterans to block players. And they talked about depth, and that's important, but like, what's your ceiling? Now, to your point, Jaire Alexander, when he's healthy, is one of the best corners in the NFL. So I wouldn't be opposed to it. It would make sense to me, but are there enough mouths to feed at that position with, two young up and coming outside corners? And then, of course, Garrett Williams, as you mentioned.
And if everybody plays their potential, Johnny, this isn't like the front seven where they rotate guys super heavily. That cornerback room, assuming everybody is going to be upright and healthy, there's not going to be a lot of movement. I feel like, they like to do some different things with Garrett Williams, maybe bring him as an extra guy outside of the slot. Yeah. But even like in base packages, where there's not like a slot receiver, Johnny, it's going to be Garrett Williams on one side on the boundary, and then Will Johnson, Max Belton, Starling Thomas on the other side. It's like, is there enough mouths to feed? Sure. But you also look at the type of player that Jaire Alexander is, and sure, like, any team would love to have him. But I mean, he reportedly turned down like a $16.1 million like restructured contract for this year. He's played 14 games the last 2 years. And, we'll say it until we're blue in the face. The best ability is availability. Yeah. And when you've missed more games than you've played the last 2 years, kind of a problem, right? Yeah. And almost more than anything that we're not talking about is, I don't want to slander his name. I don't want to say he has character concerns, but there's certainly been a lot of drama surrounding his name in Green Bay the last 2 years. For a Jonathan Gannon in the locker room that's been so carefully curated in terms of bringing the right guys there, does he necessarily fit that mold? I don't buy it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think if this was a situation in which they were, I hate this term, caught with their pants down, right? And Sean Murphy-Bunting had just gotten injured. And we knew that Sean Murphy-Bunting had sustained the injury before free agency. It allowed them to be strategic with the way they handled it. They kept it under wraps so it wouldn't be, common knowledge that they could kind of pick their spots. And Will Johnson fell into their laps. Let's say, like, next week, Sean Murphy-Bunting got hurt, right? And they didn't have Will Johnson. And then you're sitting there and you're like, well, now we have to break glass in case of emergency. And that's when you, as a just general manager, can say, well, I have a surplus of cap dollars. I can go and I can sign Jaire Alexander, right? It's not my preference. I don't want a team build like this. And this is where I think that they really kind of screwed the pooch a little bit last year was, Ojulari, so many eggs in that basket. And then he got hurt and then they didn't have anybody to go after. And then they, everything had dried up at pass rush or cornerback. You can kind of manipulate a little bit more. We're going to talk about best available free agents. But to me, it's like circumstantial. No Will Johnson, Sean Murphy-Bunting, let's say, just got hurt. I think it would make a lot of sense. In fact, I'd probably be demanding that it happen. But you have enough young athletes and ascending players, and you've got veteran safeties, by the way, that can help. You have enough, in my opinion. I think you certainly have enough compared to the last 2 years. I want to see what this group can do in-house with a renewed pass rush that they have not had before. Garrett Williams is one of the best ascending corners in the NFL. PFF had him top 20. He should be, in my opinion, like top 15, top 12 after this year, if not already. Max Melton was a top 50 pick. Will Johnson was a top 50 pick. Like, why are these players available? To your point, old, expensive. Teams want to go younger, more athletic. It's also, and we broke this down a couple weeks ago, Donnie, and it wasn't about Jaire Alexander, but just had this conversation in general. Most of the overpaid corners in this league are in their late 20s. Jalen Ramsey, they want him gone. Jaire Alexander, they want him gone. Like, you get about, it's coincidental for Will Johnson. It's like, can we get Will Johnson in the lineup playing at a high level, get him to a second contract? Then it's like, okay, do the second contract. That might be it. And that's okay, right? Like, you look, Patrick Peterson fell off toward 30 years old. So I feel like Jaire Alexander will help a team this year, could help the Cardinals, but for what they're building long-term, it just doesn't make a ton of sense.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. And I don't think if for whatever reason Jaire Alexander does end up in the desert, people should be upset or any stretch of the imagination. Like he
Right.
instantly upgrades your cornerback room, but I just think how the room is constructed, because you have to think even before free agency, like cornerback was a position to where you really didn't need to touch it, even without Sean Murphy Bunting, who I thought was going to take a step back in playing time anyways. The trio of Garrett Williams, Max Melton, Starling Thomas, like yeah,
Yeah.
that's not selling tickets at the wazoo, but like it's a very good young crop of corners to kind of mold from. And like Jonathan Gannon says it best all the time, Johnny. He's like, you get better at football by playing football. I don't think this is the old regime with Steve Keim to where they feel like they need to go get veterans left and right. They believe in their scouting, they believe in their development, and like they want to roll with their young corners. And so I think they are more than content with the guys they have now. I do think a guy like Jaire would be a great signing, but it's very much a luxury pick in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like they have young corners like Elijah Jones and Taylor Demerson that who play safety but can cover as well as anybody on the roster. Like get those guys on the field, get them exposure, right? Old and expensive. Like you had to overcorrect. I've used that term a lot this offseason with the malpractice of the defensive line. Like overcorrect. You brought in 3 defensive tackles this offseason. I applaud it, right? Because it was so egregiously bad. You didn't have ready-made outside of Darius answers ready to go. So you brought in Dalvin and you brought in Calais and you brought in Walter Nolan. Like you have a bunch of guys that you've invested in, that you've developed. Like think about how many film studies that Starling Thomas, Keitrell Clark have seen, Garrett Williams have seen. Now Max Melton, a full year in the program. And now you've got Will Johnson, who like, I know we kind of use this label on Marv and maybe people are walking this back. Will Johnson is one of the most polished corners to come out in some time. It's not like Will Johnson is like, hey, we got this raw guy from Grambling State and he's a converted running back to cornerback and we're going to see if this works, right? No. This guy was the best corner in college football 2 years ago. This past year, he had an injury and that team in Michigan was kind of checked out. Like he is ready to go. And by all accounts, you've seen him in OTAs and he looks fantastic. We're going to talk about OTAs. Plus, Donnie and I are going to break down the best available free agents ahead of training camp. Do any of the names make sense for the Arizona Cardinals? That's coming up. So fired up to have Donnie in the fold today. Fired up with our friends at All Pro Shades Concepts. Extend your outdoor living space with a custom fit awning. Hundreds of designs and colors to choose from to match any home. They've got motorized, retract with a remote control. Of course, all the LED lighting to pick from. And you can get them right now at a discounted price using the bonus code PHNX. But regardless, roll down patio shades, block out the sun, keep the patio up to 20 degrees cooler. Hundreds of colors, durable fabrics to withstand the Arizona sun. Choose from manual to motorized, sealed, track, or cable shades. They can also replace and fix many outdated patio shades and motorized awnings. Most trusted local company here for shades. Voted #1 by Arizona for patio shades in 2024. Triple B A+ rating with over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google. They've been in business in the Valley for 20 years. They started making window shades by hand for friends and family in Phoenix. Now they're one of the largest installers of patio roll-down shades and motorized awnings in the Valley. Again, licensed, bonded, and insured. Give them a call today, 623-204-1476, or visit them at allproshadesconcepts.com to schedule your free estimate. Tell them PHNX Cardinals sent you, and I'll send you over with our friends at Monarch Money. Right. Start managing your finances to build the life that you actually want. You want it all in one-stop shop. Check them out, Monarch Money. They make managing money simple, even for the busiest of lives. With your accounts, credit cards, investments, all in one place, you'll know where your money stands without the hassle. Track your spendings, your savings, your investments so effortlessly you can focus on what matters most, making your biggest life goals a reality. Again, they were named the Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app 2025. The top recommended personal finance app by users and experts with over 30,000 5-star reviews. Check them out right now. Get control of your overall finances today with Monarch Money. The bonus code PHNX at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off the first year. That's 50% off. monarchmoney.com with the code PHNX. Everybody drop a like. Again, leave a comment. We got super chats. We've got likes. We're going to get to them all, but let's get to some best available free agents with my guy, Donnie Druin. All right, Noah, let's check it out. Here are the notables. We're calling them the notables. Obviously, we've added Jaire Alexander to this list. We'll run through it. But Donnie, Druin, on the surface, does any position or player make sense for the Arizona Cardinals?
I'm looking at Will Hernandez right in the face right now, my man. Right guard for me. I know the team does like Isaiah Adams, started a handful of games last year. Lost your other rotational starter in Tristan Colon, I think recently, that maybe within the last couple of days. But
Yeah.
Isaiah Adams, some people don't love it. Some people don't hate it. He is what he is at this point in his career. Still a lot of time left for him to prove himself. But I think we all can agree that the Cardinals offensive line is better with a guy like Will Hernandez in the lineup. He's well beloved by the locker room. That's just like, when healthy, I just think it makes way too much sense.
Yeah, I agree. I think, again, if you can find a way to say, hey, Will, come in and compete. You're healthy now. I just watched, I think, an Instagram reel of his doing, clanging and banging in his, home gym, doing squats, looking like he could be ready for the start of the NFL season. We'll see. I mean, unfortunately, that injury cost him a pretty penny. And Mike Garafolo told us on our show, Donnie, that had he been healthy, he would have been re-signed by the Cardinals during that span. And so he's going to have a market. He probably does once he can pass a physical. But for the Arizona Cardinals, like, can you guarantee a starting job? I don't think you can. I'm with you. I think Isaiah Adams is going to be a nice player. He needs to be. I mean, he's one of 4 third-rounders that I think we've all been kind of critical of in one way, shape, or form from last year. So that's the name to watch for sure. If there's a second tier to that, I mean, like, the minute they drafted Cody Simon, I think that kind of put the kibosh on Kazir White, like, injury notwithstanding. But it is funny, like, 2 of the most notable names on here are 2 guys that have been great locker room savants and kind of carrying the water for this current regime, still around. Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, no thanks. I think Keenan Allen could frankly be done, or that could be a camp signing following an injury. Like, something would have to go wrong at a position for the Arizona Cardinals to kind of jump on this group. It is ironic, though, Donnie, that last year we couldn't sniff a pass rusher of note that's available to sign, especially when Ojulari went down. I know we're about 4 to 6 weeks from when that happened, but like Judon, Zadarius Smith, Von Miller, Clowney, DeMarcus Walker, all older players, but all, I think, if you were to put the Cardinals in a position where they were last year, all would have made a lot of sense for the Cardinals. Supposedly the Cardinals had tried to trade for Matthew Judon last offseason during training camp, during preseason. But, I mean, they're just too flush with defensive linemen now to even consider that.
The boats are too full. Actually, can I put up a name that was just released this morning that wasn't
absolutely.
on the graphic?
Yeah,
Jermaine Pratt. I would be all over Jermaine Pratt if I were the Arizona Cardinals. I'm not super sold on Akeem Davis-Gaither or Michael Walker. I'm not going to expect Cody Simon to walk in here as a day 3 pick and start right away, although I am very interested in him. Pratt's production over the last 2 years outmatches Kazir White. He's a better inside linebacker in terms of pass coverage grades on Pro Football Focus. I just think the fit makes way too much sense. And if we're looking at evaluating maybe some holes that need to be shored up ahead of training camp, ahead of preseason, I think Pratt coming to the desert would just be an absolute concrete stamp on that linebacker room with him and Mac Wilson Jr. running. Mac Wilson Sr. running things.
Yeah. Well, and again, like, there has been an outpour of veterans that have left Cincinnati since the firing of Lou Anarumo. Clearly, they're trying to go in a different direction. He is 29, 6'3", 250. I mean, but it's like Trey Hendrickson's 30 years old trying to get a new deal, or 32 years old. Like, it just feels like Cincinnati, and whether they're right or wrong in their approach, is like, well, our defense has not been good really since we made it to the Super Bowl, and we were paying all these veterans, and now they're older, and so we're going to go in a different direction. Like, I don't know if they'll pay dividends this year, but like, just getting rid of a guy post June 1st that had 80 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 interceptions, like, it is a curious decision. But yeah, I mean, I think he was like a 3rd rounder out of NC State. I mean, he was a top draft pick once upon a time. To me, like, I'm with you. Like, could you get somebody to come in and be, and I think Bo would say that this is Akeem Davis-Gaither, but could you get somebody to come in and be kind of your Chris Barnes, where it's like your savvy veteran that could come off the bench, maybe push for a starting job in the right scenario? But I'm rooting for Cody Simon to take that job and never give it up. But again, like, a team that has expectations, and this goes back to like Will Johnson, Jaire Alexander, Max Melton, like, how do you balance expectations and needing to win if you're Ossenfort and JG versus like, we're going to develop people, right? Like, you you have to be very confident in your developmental program to say Cody Simon, Will Johnson, Jordan Burke, these guys are going to contribute and start by like Halloween. Because again, the alternative is Akeem Davis-Gaither has never been a starter, right? You're talking about Jermaine Pratt just being released from Cincinnati. He was a backup to him, couldn't get on the field. I think is a special teamer at heart, like, and that's who you're going to start. Like, they found lightning in the bottle with Yelda Froldholt and Mac Wilson Sr. And they get all the praise for that and the benefit of the doubt in that scenario. Those are also different years, different expectations. Now the expectation is, and we've talked about it, Donnie, ad nauseum, like double-digit wins, competing, winning the NFC West, right? Like, are you confident? I'm confident in the players long-term, but can a second rounder and a fourth rounder come in and get you to where you want to be in the NFC West?
And who knows, because until they actually take significant snaps on the football field, and we can't even judge rookies until they're late second, third year in the league. So like, who knows, man? And I think that goes like both ways, right? Like if Will Johnson comes out and just has a phenomenal rookie campaign, which I think he very well could. I don't want people jumping the gun, immediately calling him like one of the best corners in the league, because how many times have we seen either one extreme or the other, where somebody comes into the league extremely hot and just cools off very, very fast, or maybe the opposite, where they started kind of slow, but then they eventually found their footing in year 2 and year 3. So I think you highlighted it perfectly. Like, the Cardinals are effectively in win now mode. They played hard, they played everybody great, but they couldn't get it. That's out the window. That is completely out the window. The standard has been changed and raised by Jonathan Gannon, by Monti Ossenfort. And I think now we need to stop looking at, well, maybe these young guys need to play. No, if they make your football team better and you think it won't also ruin the development of your heavy draft capital picks at the same time, you go and do it. And I think that's why a guy like Jermaine Pratt does make so much sense.
Yeah, I'm with you. I just, whatever they want to do with that position, the confidence that I have in Nick Rallis and Jonathan Gannon to develop inside linebackers from his time in Philadelphia with Kazir White, and I think Mike Edwards and some of these kind of unsung guys. But if Cody Simon's not ready to go, if he needs a year to develop physically or whatever and learn the playbook, it's like, who can you add for a 1-year flyer? Now, on the surface, that would appear like, why don't you just bring back Kazir White? Well, they clearly have an alternative plan in place, but it's interesting, especially like we didn't even mention like Denzel Burke, who's a 5th rounder at corner. Like, they have a lot of young mouths to feed. And I love the
Elijah Jones too. We haven't even brought up Elijah Jones.
And I like the trajectory of all of them, but can they catch up? Because here's the one issue that we had last year is with this franchise is like, we love that draft class. We lauded it. I think it probably underperformed on the surface level. You didn't get Darius. Marvin had some ups and downs, right? Max Melton was one of their more consistent players. All 4 third-rounders. It's like none of them were starting until Isaiah Adams started late in the season. Like, that was a problem last year. No big-time contributors on day 3. Now, everybody would tell you, well, Johnny, it takes a couple years to grade a draft, and I would agree with that. But for a team that had like 12 picks and 7 in the top 90 or whatever it was, it's like they need impact from this class. And the biggest common denominator with this group is, and I've said this post-draft, is there's a path for all of these guys to play and play a lot early. Like, Walter Dolan, even if he's not a starter, he's going to play a lot. Will Johnson, we expect him to start. Jordan Birch, wide open competition opposite Josh Sweat. Cody Simon, same thing. Denzel Burke, play a lot of big-time college football. Like, there is an avenue for these guys to contribute. So, speaking of contributing and OTAs, Donnie, you've been at OTAs. We get Bo's opinion on here. I'm out there when I can, but we get Bo's opinion on OTAs. I want to pick your brain. We've got a graphic here. Donnie's big 3 that have impressed him at OTAs. Couple notable names. Donnie, walk us through this.
Yeah, I think the conversation starts and finishes with Marvin Harrison Jr. It's just, all eyes and attention are on the former number 4 overall pick, rightfully so, after what wasn't like a disappointing season, like on the box score, but it certainly felt like it, with so much hype that Marvin had coming to the desert. It didn't quite seem like they capitalized on it as much as they should have. A full offseason in an NFL program, an NFL strength and conditioning program that clearly worked. If anybody has seen what Marvin Harrison Jr. looks like, I mean, it looks like they got him straight out of a statue from Greece and just brought him over to the desert. So chopped, so chiseled. It really looks like that body transformation you see so often from players from year 1 to year 2. really took effect from Marvin Harrison Jr. I think more than anything, he's really stood out to me, not for what he's done on the field, which obviously Bo has filled you guys in. We can't say too much. We're only allowed to report on the first 20 minutes of practice, which essentially is just stretching in individual drills. But the attention to detail that Marvin has had, and we asked him, Marv, like, what did you work on from year 1 to year 2? And he just brought up, hey, I watched a lot of film. It's not necessarily like what I can do, but maybe like the radius around me, like what corners are trying to do at the top of the routes, what I'm looking at post catch, just the small, minute details, Johnny. And I think that's what separates good from great in the National Football Leagues, the little fine things. And I think Marvin doing those, at least this early in his career, I think is going to pay massive, massive dividends for them.
Yeah, I'm buying all the MHJ stock. We're going to talk about a receiver, Scary Terry, here in a little bit. If you look at the numbers, like surface level, people were saying, well, Marv disappointed last year. And they were only like separated, I think, by like 200 yards. You think about like this passing game last year looked kind of disjointed, I think is a fair word. And we talked about it last week, Donnie, myself and Bo, like the amount of double-digit targets for Marv, 3 games in which he had double-digit targets. Malik Neighbors had 10 plus last year. So like by default, if he's healthy, he's going to have, I think, just similar to the Cardinals, like a big year, a big bounce back year where you're talking easily 1,000 yards, touchdowns could go up. I think the big plays are going to go up. Like there has to be some rhythm in how he gets the football this year. Like it cannot be, hey, Marv, you're going to be lucky to get 2 targets per quarter. And we can't tell you when and how those are coming. And they could be contested catches. It's like no young player is going to feel comfortable doing that. Right. They have to do their best and to get him involved early. It's like a jump shooter in the NBA. It's like feed him the ball early, let him get into a rhythm. I love James Conner, and I think he's been one of the best free agent signings in the history of this franchise. The offense can't run through James Conner this year. It has to run through, in my opinion, this passing attack, and the run game has to complement it. And again, fundamentally, that has not been what Drew Petzing prefers. But you're not beating the teams that were in the postseason last year who beat you, right? 8 of the Cardinals' 9 losses were to playoff teams last year. You have to be able to throw the football downfield. And I'm bullish on Marv this year. I think he has a banner year, and I'm not surprised he stood out to you. Other players that are on your radar during OTAs?
Yeah, Darius Robinson. I think you can copy and paste basically what is said about Marvin Harrison Jr. and apply it to Darius. We didn't get to see much of Darius for a multitude of reasons last year, but I think when you think back to what we did see, which is majority of like training camp stuff, he looked good. He popped off of the tape, absolutely, for sure. And even whenever he came back towards the tail end of 2024, there were some really good things that he had put on tape, and I think. A lot of what I said about Marv and just the progression to year 2, both mentally and physically, I'm expecting the same exact thing and maybe even the same jump from Darius Robinson because he just looks massive. And if he can just get bigger, faster, and stronger, I think he's really going to be that disruptive force that he was taken to be, that the Cardinals, for lack of a better term, missed last year due to injury and a couple of other things. And Will Johnson, I mean, I know the knee concerns about him are very much long term, but like he moves so fluid, Johnny. Like he really does look. He looks like a Rolls Royce. Like he's a big dude. Like he's not like a speed burner by any stretch of the imagination, but he's just very, very nice and smooth coming in and out of breaks. And for what it's worth, like the knee stuff is long term for sure, but he looked great. He's looked great from everything we've seen so far.
It's great. Like you hear Shamar Stewart like sitting out and people are like, is Will Johnson healthy? What's going on? Jahad Campbell can't practice and all these guys. And there's Will Johnson since rookie minicamp, never missed a practice, doesn't miss reps, just very about his business. We had a chance to connect with him at Kyler Murray's celebrity softball game. And he's very like mild-mannered, quiet. He and Walter Nolan. And they expect their play to do the talking. And the Cardinals need that. And less noise is what they want. It's, I'm sure, why Gannon and Ossenfort in part felt comfortable drafting those players. It's just like they're addicted to football. Will Johnson can't control what shows up on a scan for teams, but he can control like, hey, if I'm healthy, I'm playing. I'm going to play at a high level. So I absolutely expect big things for him. I think he'll have multiple defensive touchdowns this year. I think he's got a nose for the football. Let's talk a little Darius Robinson, though, because he was we were told, the most impressive rookie during training camp before his injury. And then you go and you watch it. If you were at State Farm Stadium last year, like clearly translates. Like they had nothing that looked like him and moved like him, So that was a big advocate. Like, he stood with his fellow defensive linemen, and it was like, this doesn't fit to what they've usually had. Now it's going to look different this year. They've got a new influx of guys, thank goodness. But his injury, of course, his mother's tragic passing derailed his season. But the good news is he's healthy. He's been putting in the time this offseason. I've always thought, I've loved that pick for a number of different reasons, but I always thought the floor was exceptionally high for a player of that caliber. Like, this is a guy, I thought he reminded me like Cameron Hayward, late first rounder, going to get multiple contract extensions, may never make an all-pro team, but every year he was just part of an elite unit. And I think that that's what they're going to get. I think Walter Nolan on the surface, if you're like talking about prospects and talent, has a chance to be the more flashy player. But Darius Robinson, to me, like, if he's healthy, is just going to be super productive for this defense for a long time. And I'm so happy that he's able now to be back with his Cardinal brethren and be there every day in the weight room, because I think in a lot of ways he needs that, Donnie.
Yeah, no, for sure. And he said that him and Marvin were there at the facility every single day in the offseason, in the morning. And just to see that kind of dedication from veterans is one thing, but from two rookies who quote unquote like underperformed during the first season, like there's an obvious urgency, not from outside people, but from the players themselves. And I just think those habits are so rare. I feel like, and those guys wanting to be better, wanting to be a part of something special. And I think that's partly because they can feel it. They can feel, hey, you know what? If I just get 1% better every single day throughout the offseason, like, we can really push for something here in 2025. And I remember watching Darius at training camp last year. Like, he moved Paris Johnson back like a shopping cart. And I'm like, that is not normal. That is not normal. That's not normal for an NFL player to do, let alone an average person. So like the tools are there. Everything is there for Darius to be this certified game wrecker. I would like to see him use his hands a little bit better and pass rushing scenarios, but like that comes with time. And like Darius and Marvin just have things you can't coach. And I think that's why everybody's so excited about them, because if you can just fine tweak a lot of the things, sprinkle in a little bit of experience here and there, like the Cardinals will very much be set on both sides of the ball at that position.
We talked about a lot of positions, wide receiver, not one of them. A new article links the Cardinals to a Washington All-Pro. That plus, why is Marco Wilson talking about the Cardinals on social media? It's PHNX Cardinals. I would be a betting man to say Marco Wilson probably never shows his face here in the desert again. How about become a betting savant with our friends at Bet365? It's never ordinary, folks, with Bet365. They've got boosted props. They can give you bonus bets right now. All you got to do is create an account, deposit a 10 spot, place a $5 bet, and you're ready to go with our friends at Bet365. We are close, Donnie, to preseason betting season. Talking about props for the regular season, talking about over-unders. That is where my bright spot is with Bet365. I can't wait. Plus, they've got, of course, the 100% parlay boost. Double your winnings on parlay bets with Bet365's 100% parlay boost. Now is the time. Download the app. Use the bonus code PHNX when you sign up. You got to be 21 years and older, physically located here in Arizona. If you were someone you know has a gambling problem, wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Text Next Step to 53342 or visit problemgambling.az.gov for more info. And I'm going to tell you, I need some info right now on our friends at Empire Today. I'm a newer homeowner. I know how important it is to have a solid foundation for your kids, for your family. Don't take it for granted, right? Don't settle for lesser work. Check out our friends at Empire Today, your best bet for a new floor. Empire Today lives and breathes flooring. They'll be with you every step of the way. It's a completely different ball game. You're up in your floor game. They are too. Their flooring experts bring the showroom right to your home. Pick the flooring and the right colors for your space. See how it looks with your furniture, your house, whatever it may be. Check them out now. Get precise measurements taken. Have all of your questions answered. We're going to hook you up right now. How about a $350 discount using the bonus code PHNX? Yeah, you heard that right. $350 off with the bonus code PHNX. Restrictions apply. Visit Empire Today/PHNX for full details. Again, drop a like. We got almost 200 watching live on YouTube alone. Big thanks to our guy, Donnie Druin. And Donnie, I saw you post an article, Cards on SI. I think it was late last week, earlier in the weekend. Scary Terry McLaurin wants a new contract for the Washington Commanders. He's an older player. I think he's 29 years old, 28, 29. And I'm not sure if he's holding out or not. But the folks at Bleacher Report, our frenemies at Bleacher Report, wrote an article, 6 teams that should pursue Scary Terry. Number 2 was the Arizona Cardinals. Noah, let's see this right up here. And then I'm going to get my guy Donnie's take on it. I'm going to paraphrase some of it. They're recommending the Cardinals send a second rounder in 2026 and Zaven Collins for Scary Terry. Okay. The Arizona Cardinals might not seem like an obvious candidate for Scary Terry because they added number 1 receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. What the Cardinals don't, however, have is a top receiver who can complement Harrison Jr. McLaurin could be just that, and now could be the perfect time to add him to the fold. Murray and Gannon are heading into a pivotal season. Murray hasn't performed like a Pro Bowler since 2021 and needs help getting back to form after his torn ACL. Adding McLaurin could help Murray return to his pre-injury production and help the Cardinals get over 500. To sweeten the pot, the Cardinals could include edge rusher Zaven Collins with 5 sacks last year, but could potentially be a 2026 cap casualty. Interesting. The Cardinals could save $4.4 million this year by trading Collins. They've added Calais Campbell, Josh Sweat, and Walter Noland. Washington could be very interested in a little help, edge help. So a lot of words there in this write-up here. I'll give my piece on it here in a second. But Donnie, when you saw this trade proposal, your thoughts?
Yeah, not crazy about dealing a second-round pick for receivers who are going to turn 30 in September, and especially considering that he's probably going to want a pay raise. And SpotTrack has his annual average at $31.1 million per season. And I just think for a Cardinals offense that necessarily doesn't utilize receivers like that, that may be a heavy investment at that position. But I'm a big fan of Terry McLaurin. I mean, just so many people you talk to, because he was a part of some really bad Washington teams. Not once did he puff his chest out or threaten to leave or anything like that. You know, he stuck through the team through a lot of good times. A high character guy. I think in terms of locker room fit, he would be phenomenal. He produces. He's had 5 1,000 consecutive yard seasons in Washington with a plethora of different quarterbacks. I think he would be effectively an upgrade over Michael Wilson, and that's not Michael Wilson slander at all. I just think he's a little bit better at getting open, and I think the one thing this Cardinals offense might be lacking is a guy who can really make plays downfield, and I think Terry McLaurin is very capable of that. We saw that last year with Jaden Daniels, tossing him the rock deep, and I just think great character. Like, it makes a lot of sense from that standpoint, but in terms of paying him, dealing a second-round pick when he's almost arguably past his prime, just not a fan of that.
How is Washington with no alternative? Why would they ever do this? Like, you're Washington, you're viable for the first time in literally forever. And he was your best offensive player outside of your quarterback last year. And you're like, yeah, we'll just get rid of him for a second round pick. It's like, Washington is not trading Scary Terry. In no world is that happening. Like, they'll probably give him like a little sweetener to keep him happy. I mean, like, he should get paid. He had 13 touchdowns last year, 1,100 yards. He hasn't had less than 919 yards in his career. That came his rookie season. They're not trading Scary Terry. That's like, the teams are set now. It's June 9th, right? Like, you got guys being cut because they have, cap implications, but like, you're not trading like marquee players on your team. Like, stuff's getting real. That's why Aaron Rodgers signed his contract. Like, yeah, we're going to take a little bit of a break before training camp, but things are ramping up. Like, your teams are your teams. Like, who do they have on their depth chart? I couldn't even tell you another receiver of note. Did they draft one?
Deebo Samuel.
Okay, so they have Deebo, who, by the way, unconventional receiver, and he's injury prone and expensive. Like, he is not going to be able to come in and just like supplement Terry's work, but they are perfect complements to each other, and that's why they did it. The Cardinals had a chance to get Terry McLaurin. Let's turn the clocks back to 2019, which we all saw the biggest malpractice, maybe of Steve Keim's tenure, and that second round of the 2019 draft, right? You got Byron Murphy atop the second round. Wasn't great value, but whatever. And you passed on, a couple other receivers, but you had a pick in the second round, and you took Andy Isabella over DK Metcalf and over Terry McLaurin. That was your window to get Scary Terry, and you blew it. You blew it if you're Steve Keim. Like, good players like DK Metcalf and Scary Terry and A.J. Brown and Deebo Samuel, like, they're not traded until either their play is falling off or you're Tennessee and you're imploding and somehow the Eagles coax you for A.J. Brown. Like that's it.
This has Buda Baker last year written all over it
A
for me.
great comp.
Just in a Washington standpoint, to where like it's a star player who just wants more money. The Commanders obviously aren't going to trade him, just like the Cardinals were not going to trade Buda Baker last offseason. It's just public positioning, and I have no doubt they're going to get something worked out before training camp.
Yeah, I just, to me, it's like, would you want Scary Terry on your team? Of course you would, right? Like
Easily.
even Michael Wilson would understand that. But here's another, like, we make this argument consistently, Donnie. It's like, stop trying to add veteran free agents to this team at receiver until you fix what is broken with your passing game. And your passing game, in my opinion, and I could be in the minority, I don't think it's a personnel problem. Well, clearly the Cardinals don't either, right? They didn't add anybody. They're running it back with the same group. Like, philosophically, your intermediate passing game, your long game throwing the football is broken, right? You need to find the root cause of that. And clearly, hopefully they sat in a room, Gannon and Ossenfort and Petzing, and they're like, okay, what didn't work last year? Because we took a guy 4th overall. He should be our number 1 guy, and we ought to be able to at least have a respectable passing game downfield. And it looked like, we talk about this all the time, Donnie, like they just conceded drives when it was like 2nd and long, 3rd and long. Like, you're going to bring Scary Terry into that? Like, figure your you-know-what out before you bring a veteran wide receiver in here. And like, we knew they kind of had interest in a receiver in the 2nd round. It could have been Luther Burden, but they were sniffing around an offensive player. But Michael Wilson performs every time he's given an opportunity.
Yes.
Marv needs more targets. Trey's the best tight end in pro football. Like, do it with that. And then next offseason, if we're still having these issues, maybe it's spanning from quarterback play, whatever, then we'll have a conversation about a veteran wide receiver. Now's not the time to do that.
And that's why I'm so excited for 2025, because I feel like really this is the year we find some things out, whether it's about Kyler Murray, whether it's about Drew Petzing. Like, we're going to get answers on what exactly is wrong with the offense. And, Drew Petzing, I think, is one of the best minds in terms of like scheming runs.
Yeah.
In an offense. And I think that's why the Cardinals were so successful. But also, like, if he was really that valuable in the mirror, whenever it came to, coordinating passing attacks, like, he would have gotten a head coach opportunity, this coming off season. Like, I know he got the interview. I don't know exactly like how legit they were. I don't know if the Bears were ever going to like actually consider him or not, but like, he's clearly respected in the NFL for a reason. I don't think there's any like doubts about that. But when you have Marvin Harrison Jr. and you can't figure out how to maximize him, how are you going to maximize Terry McLaurin? Like, there's not some secret formula or some drop off to where, hey, we don't know about the number 4 overall pick, but we know exactly how to use Terry F on McLaurin. It's like, it doesn't really work like that. Like, this isn't Madden either, but if you do trade for Scary Terry, where's he going to play? He's not a slot receiver. He plays a couple snaps in the slot, but he's not a slot guy. Are you going to move Marvin around? Or are you going to try to put Michael Wilson in like a secondary role? Are you still going to have Greg Dortch or Zay Jones in the slot? Like, how does that work?
It's a great point by you. You have to earn it. They have not earned it as an offensive coaching staff of move like this. You want to sign Amari Cooper at 100 years old, whatever. Like, guess who earned the benefit of the doubt to get a surplus of defensive linemen? Nick flipping Rallis, when his defense last year was the better unit on the team with less talent and less money committed, and they were effing around with like the 13th best points per game defense. It's like, if I'm Monti Ossenfort, I'm cutting every check. I'm cutting a check for Calais and Dalvin Tomlinson and Josh Sweat. All the draft is going to be defense. You have earned that, because we're going to set you up to have the best defense that we've had since Todd Bowles was here. And we're going to set you up to be a defensive head coach in the coming years. As much as that will pain me, I'll be happy for Nick when that happens. Like, if you're Drew Petzing, and this is the comp I always use, I think Drew Petzing is the perfect kind of training wheels offensive coordinator to do less with more early on. Made Josh Dobbs fun, made a run game out of nothing 2 years ago, can put together a run. Like, I think he would be great, like, in a franchise, just trying to be respectable. Like, I think as an offensive play caller for like the Jets or something, it's just like, can we just not be chaotic? I think he's perfect for that. Well, that's not the Cardinals anymore. We're not just trying to get through a season with Colt McCoy, you can't throw the football, and now Josh Dobbs and waiting for K1 to come back. It's like, we got all the same right. We got all the same players. And all these players are thought of as high fantasy draft picks, and people have their jerseys and their cards. It's like, okay, make it work with those guys to which you have a top 10 to 12 offense and can win us games, and we can get to the postseason. And if you can't do that, Drew, then this is not, we have a ceiling here. What is Drew Petzing's ceiling, and can it be raised, Donnie, in 2025?
Yeah, I think that's the ultimate question. And I think it's just like it's so fun to look at maybe some of the outside guys and would they be fits here? You know, I think, like you said a little bit earlier, Terry McLaurin would be a phenomenal add to any of the other 31 NFL franchises. I don't think that's a question at all. And I do think for whatever reason, like if the Cardinals did pull off that move, it would be exciting. He would sell a lot of jerseys here. There would be genuine excitement for the Cardinals offense moving forward. And, you know, I think in an offseason where they didn't really touch anything, there's a lot of questions on if that was the right move, if they're really banking on the power of friendship and continuity to make things drastically better from 24 to 25. And I kind of akin this to like, maybe it's, you and Bo can attest to this being parents. Like your kid has a bunch of toys they don't really like play with or they don't like, but they want that new toy. It's like, all right, man, how about we play with these for a little bit? And if you really don't like it, then we'll go out and maybe get something.
Play with the toys you have at home before we do that. We have Scary Terry at home. His name is Greg Dortch. No, we don't. Here's what I'll say. I think that this receiving core is good enough to win and get to the postseason with. Trey McBride and Marvin, like that. Come on. Sean McVay could make that work. Kevin O'Connell could make it work, especially this year. And we've talked about it ad nauseum, Donnie. Like the defense is going to be so much more opportunistic. You're going to get takeaways. You're going to get shortened fields. You're going to get so many more opportunities. Like, let it rip this year. You cannot. They were so conservative almost to a point last year to kind of make sure that the defense wasn't overexposed. It needs to be reversed this year. We're excited about the influx of talent. We talked about corner earlier in the show. Let's talk for a second about a departed corner. It feels like forever ago since Marco Wilson was frauding it up in the Cardinals secondary. And supposedly he's big time mad on Instagram about his time with the Arizona Cardinals. I couldn't even tell you. Is Marco Wilson still with the Saints? Are we going to see him week one? I couldn't even tell you. But here's Marco Wilson on Instagram, and this was pointed out by our guy, Lockdown Will, on Twitter. A bunch of people were running with this. There was a breakdown from some camp on what did he do wrong, and it's I think a clip of Marco Wilson getting cooked in 2023, and Marco Wilson saw this post, didn't take accountability, I guess, for his play, and instead said, what went wrong? Play for the Cardinals. And then he had another quote in here saying, I bet his coaches didn't even help him break down the pre-snap process before he even lined up. So he took a shot at Nick Rallis here. Wilson was famously just cut by the franchise, or was he traded? I can't even remember. Regardless, he was jet-setted after a few months with the organization post Steve Keim, was a former fourth-round pick out of Florida, threw a shoe at his time in Florida and subsequently fell down draft boards as a result. Donnie, what's Marco Wilson's deal?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Seems like he saw the X doing really, really well in ING and kind of got in his feelings, right? You know, for what it's worth, I really enjoyed talking to Marco in the locker room. He's a great guy to speak with. Really good music taste, by the way. If you ever need a hip hop or rap song recommendation, hit Marco up for sure.
Sure.
Not sure, man. I don't really know. You're going to tell me Jonathan Gannon and Nick Rallis didn't prepare you? You're going to tell me two of the best defensive minds in football didn't make sure you knew what pre-snap reads to have? Also, isn't that a little bit of your job, Marco, to kind of process everything but before the ball snapped? I don't know, because you hear so often, Johnny, that football is football no matter where you go. Just different ideologies, keys, terms, all that good stuff. So I don't know. I have no idea what Marco Wilson is on. Maybe he's bored. Hashtag mad on the internet.
He is not with the Saints or the Patriots anymore. Cardinals will see him potentially later in the year. He is with the Cincinnati Bengals. So interesting choice by the Bengals to not pay Trey Hendrickson. And I know it's not apples to oranges with the contract, but we're not going to pay Trey Hendrickson. We're going to cut our leading tackler from last year as an inside linebacker, and we're going to sign Marco Wilson to come play corner for us. So interesting. Marco Wilson, who famously does not have an interception since 2023, has now been on three teams in 3 years. We'll see what happens with Marco Wilson and his future in the NFL. Only 26 years old. That was always one of the biggest benefits I thought when they drafted him. Was like, well, this kid's like 20 years old. He's a pup. He's a baby. Maybe he can get it going. I remember doing shows with Bo, and I'm like, Marco Wilson has the most to gain because he's got a tremendous defensive back savant as a head coach. And if you just buy in, you've got the talent. Right. But for whatever reason, didn't click And so they jet setted him out of here. And I mean, it was like Keitrell Clark and Starling Thomas starting on that 2023 team. It was crazy, but yeah, he fell out of favor fast with JG.
Do you know how bad things have to be for you to be released and for the team to throw Keitrell Clark into the starting lineup? Like they would rather have him than you. And I think it's so interesting because like he was a solid cornerback too under Byron Murphy. Like he was like, I feel like he played a lot of really good ball. Murphy leaves in Minnesota, and I think they looked at Marco as kind of that de facto cornerback one, and he obviously just was not ready for it. I thought he gave us some really good memories, like that Thursday night game against the Saints, where he's like front flipping in front of like Andy Dalton in the camera. Like that's something that people are going to remember forever. But other than that, it's just a very hit or miss time in the NFL, unfortunately.
It was tough because he had anytime like you have physical traits, and we all can see that, and you still can't put it together, and you're a little bit aloof, like people are going to be critical of you. Like we saw that with like Robert Kimdichie. We saw that with Isaiah Simmons. Like a lot of these players that were drafted by Steve Keim, it was like, I can see the potential of what you want, but you're missing the essence of what makes a great football player is you have to love football, not what football provides you. And I like Paris Johnson Jr. perfectly encapsulates that, right? I believe Marvin, Darius, these high picks, Garrett Williams, Michael Wilson, they encapsulate that. And it's a big reason why like the vetting process for this franchise has never been better. They bring players in for their top 30 visits and grill them in Tempe for 3 hours because they want to know about the people. Like we're at the combine every year, Donnie. We see it. Everybody runs a fast 40. Everybody looks great in shorts. And so a lot of players back it up with quality tape. But it's like, can you take that next step? Why is Shamar Stewart not an Arizona Cardinal today, right? Why is Mike Green not an Arizona Cardinal today? Like those are the kind of things. Will Johnson, super high character, national champion. Walter Nolan, they brought him in. People were concerned about, does he love football? Clearly, and everything we've heard from the coaching staff is he's, lighting the world on fire. So it's about the person just as much as the player.
I would agree. I think that was pretty much the first like big move of the Gannon era, right?
Yeah.
Like kind of sending a message saying, hey, you know what? Like we're not going to tolerate this. And I think that maybe set the tone for maybe the rest of the last few years that we've seen.
Yeah, it's like doesn't matter where you were drafted. I will give all the respect to the guys that made it through these last 2 years that were quote unquote Keim guys, like a Zaven who got another extension, who's not going to be traded for Scary Terry. Like even like a Dennis Gardeck who like got to play out the length of his contract, right? Like these players, obviously Trey is the gold standard, but these guys who were Cardinals before, Will Hernandez, that have stuck around, right? That made it through. And that's clearly a testament to them and their buy-in to what JG and company are doing. Super chats now. Drop a like on the video. Shaft, my guy, kicking things off. $25. So generous, Shaft. We appreciate you, my friend. If Monti wants to sign him, then I'm fine with it. Speaking about Jaire Alexander, we have a good bunch of corners. I just don't want to see him with LA. Donnie, hope we're good. I'm the one who gave you a hard time, Ape Pit D.O. about Derek Harmon's shoulder story. Donut?
Yeah, no, donuts on me, Shaft, if we ever run into each other. There's no bad blood at all, man. I've been called much, much worse, brother. I hope you're doing well.
Shaft's a great guy. We got to get Donnie out to one of our watch parties this fall if he's ever free, and we'll get Shaft and Donnie hooked up for sure. Okay. Bees, $2. Lunchtime cards equals, I don't like this, JV's unfinished steak time. That's not true at all. This is just a little lunchtime viewing for your pleasure. This is a special episode. Wanted to get Donnie on, but I would be remiss if I said we're doing this special showtime for Donnie. Donnie was a trooper, probably could have done any time. I, and a lot of you might know this, am being forced to go watch pro wrestling with my son at the Footprint Center tonight. And, well, I would be more excited if the tickets weren't pretty outrageous as far as pro wrestling goes. So that's why we've slightly tweaked the showtime. We're back at 4:30 tomorrow. But yeah, it's interesting. I haven't been to a pro wrestling show in a minute.
Yeah, I think the last time I watched pro wrestling, like The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin were a thing.
Yeah.
I assume it's developed vastly since then.
It might even be worse. I've checked out some. I've watched some with my son who's 10 years old, who is, and I would compare it to, it's like full blown, like the Pro Wrestling Now matches, like the Zoomers, like it's like the TikTok mentality. Everything's fast, happens quickly, so much like overstimulating. And it's just like the long form storytelling that we're used to. I don't know if you get that anymore, but he's excited to see John Cena tonight at the Footprint Center. I'm excited. That's right. I'm excited to welcome you all into overtime here on PHNX Cardinals. Again, big thanks to all that have been watching on many of our streaming partners, jumping over to gophnx.com. And I want to remind everybody, we got a trip in New Orleans. Reserve your spot today for the PHNX road trip via our friends at birdgangtravel.com. Myself, Bo, Noah, we're going to be in NOLA. Come week one, we're going to be partying with you all on Bourbon Street, and we're going to be watching the Cardinals get a dub over fraudulent Spencer Rattler, Tyler Shuck, whomever the Saints roll out week one. We will be there. Get your tickets now. Get your spot now. Again, if you're stressing out, you're like, I don't know where to get the best deals, flights, accommodations, agenda. It's all taken care of by Bird Gang Travel. They have the best peeps, the best price. And again, they got packages throughout the course of the year. So if you can't make it to New Orleans, you want to go to Dallas. I know we got peeps going to Dallas. So again, check them out. Get the full breakdown, birdgangtravel.com. Donnie, you going to try to make it to any road games this year?
Yeah, I'm eyeing that Monday Night Football matchup in Dallas. Go see the Star. Go see Jerry's World. I heard the press box spread is second to none, and I'll be the judge of that for sure.
I have been there once. I went to 2021 December where the Cardinals beat Dallas to lock in a playoff spot. PHNX Sports sent me, and it is phenomenal. The spread is the Cardinals do a nice job. The two nicest stadiums I've ever been to was the Rams Stadium, SoFi. That's the nicest in terms of like how it looks. But the best spread accommodations for media is Jerry's World. They had like cake pops. It was almost like being at like a country club-esque. And then you have people like Ed Warder and everybody who like has been around forever, and they just hold court and they just get all the food. And they're just like, I'm accustomed to this. And the rest of us slumming it, you know, and coming there for the first time, it's like, okay, they have like people cutting meat. I mean, it's pretty nice.
I had a tomahawk steak there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's pretty unbelievable. You'll enjoy
Get me out there. The Vegas, if you can ever make it out to Allegiant, Vegas Stadium's phenomenal as well. Also a big fan of SoFi. Yeah. It's a spaceship.
Well, you enjoy it. Bo does not, or you deserve it. Bo does not deserve it. Everybody drop a like. We got over 200 plus watching live. Big thanks to our guy, Donnie Druin, joining us today. Donnie, tell them where they can find your stuff, my friend.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter, X, or the cool kids call it, at Donnie Druin, then si.com/NFL/Cardinals.
Check out his written work. It's fantastic. He's got new articles up this morning about Jaire Alexander, a bunch of the news about the players being cut this morning, and of course, everything and anything Arizona Cardinals OTA and minicamp, which, by the way, is mandatory this week. Do you expect we'll see Sweaty J and the boys this week in full effect?
I do, yeah. I was looking at the absences through voluntary OTAs, and I just really can't piece together any reasons why a lot of the new guys who just signed contracts, by the way, there shouldn't be any holdouts for any reasons. I really just can't fathom a reason why maybe anybody but like Walter Nolan would be there, or wouldn't be there. Excuse me.
I would love to see him get his contract done. We'll keep you afloat on that, as well as Will Johnson, who needs his contract done. But again, many of the first-round picks have not signed yet. Have you signed up, become a diehard? Check us out, gophnx.com. I just got word, too, by our GM, Espo, that we're restocking a couple of our premier shirts at the merchandise locker, including this one. So if you've been holding out, you've been waiting for it, we've got that one and the K1 celebratory touchdown. Those are being restocked. I will let you know just as soon as they are ready to go. We are ready to go today. Again, big thanks to our guy, Donnie Druin, Noah behind the mic, crushing it with all the graphics, the elements. We're back tomorrow, regular showtime, 4:30, with yet another special fill-in host. Donnie, be well. Noah, thank you. We'll see everybody on a Tuesday. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.